Hello. Hello, hello. How are we all going? Aha, hello folks. Hope you're all well. Yes, excellent. So got a few of you guys here, I think, hopefully, so you can see me. And I just need to make sure that we're there. Yay! Hello everybody, you're so welcome along. So I just want to let this kind of catch up on it. Hello, Elfin, hello, a few of you guys, lovely to see you all. So I shall appear in just a second. I just have to sync everything up as we all do. Hello Ontario. So shout out at me where you all are from, because I know we've got morning, we've got evening, we've got lots of different time zones and everything. So really nice to see you guys. Can you just let me know that you can see me and you can hear me clearly? And I'm sharing this, and do feel free to share this into your groups and everything. Do that by all means, is not a problem. So we shall get going in just a couple of seconds. I just need to get everything synced up, as we always have to do with Facebook. Good old Facebook. Okay, so Northern California, San Francisco, UK. Hey Shell, I've just shared it into the group, so I hope that's going okay. You might just check that. North Hampshire. Hello everybody. Oh, it's so lovely to see you all. So it is, it's great to be back. So just while I'm waiting for this to do, hey Brigitte, so just while I'm waiting for this to sync up, what you can see here in the background is you can see a few flowers that I've done. Hi guys, how's everybody going? It's so lovely to see you all. So it is, it's been a while since I've done one of my lives, and this is my second one today. So you don't wait for a bus and then to come along at the one time. So you're all very welcome along. Thank you. I'm live. Perfect. Thanks, Shell. So tonight we are celebrating Pride Month. So I'm doing my demonstration here, and it's also live on the Global Sugar Artists Unite. So we're on that page as well, but do feel free to share it into your various different groups and your cake groups and everything. We are kicking off tonight. Tomorrow we've got a full day over on Cake Artists Unite, full day's demonstration. I'll be talking a little bit about that just as I go through, as we go through the demonstration. And tonight I'm going to show you how to make, so this is my Pride rose. I'm really sorry I had to turn on lights, so it is a lot brighter than this. It's starting to get dusk here at the moment. And 10 minutes ago I was going to pull the table outside to the other room to get better light, but I thought I better not. I'm set up. So this is the rose that we're going to be making, a Pride rose. You will have seen photographs of this in the groups and on my page and everything, and I'm going to take you through all the steps of this. You know, if you don't want to make one so colourful, if you're just making roses for cakes or anything, it'll be the same method and the same system will apply. But obviously tonight, as we're celebrating Pride, with great pride, we're celebrating it. I want to show you how to make just something a little bit different. So as I say, we will be having a full day tomorrow, an amazing day lined up for you tomorrow. And like I say, we just have some flowers. So I'm going to just pop you down onto the table, and I'll give you a better look at the rose then as well, so you can see that. So just bear with me. Looks exciting. Hey Jan, you found us. Fantastic. Okay. So as I say, we're live here. We're at Sweet Creations. We're at the Global Cake Artists Unite, and we are in lots of other different groups. So do feel free to share as you need to. So just let me square you up, and I'll give you a better look at the rose here for it. So how's everybody doing? Are we all doing good? So let me just find my spot that I need to work. I've just popped you a little bit too far over. I just need to center myself, and then we're good to go. Excellent. There we go. So I pop on the piece of paper, and then I know my center point. Alrighty. So, as I say, this is our rose that we're going to make tonight. So lots of colour. Actually, it would be an amazing statement flower. On a cake, you wouldn't really need a huge amount with it as well, so you wouldn't. So, oh, I missed you too. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Gail. I missed you all. I haven't done a live. You do know there was a reason I wasn't doing the lives, because I was getting a little bit of trouble on the page, as some of you guys know it, so I had to stop them for a while, but I may well fight back. So we are going to kick off with this one here. I'm on tonight, as I say, just introducing our Pride celebrations on the Cake Artists Unite page. If you're not already in the group, we'll put a link up in the comments here for the Cake Artists United group. Shell might just pop a link up, because tomorrow in the group we're kicking off at 7 o'clock UK time. In the morning we've got Tangia. Then at 8:30, so approximately every hour and a half, we've got another demonstration starting. Now, you will have seen the poster if you're already in the group, and I'll share it up afterwards if not. So we've got Tangia on first, we've got Margarita, Shelley Nichols, Ben Fullard, amazing, Mark, Kevin Rees, Radislava, Alan Dunn, Jean is on at 5:30 UK time, Tammy, then Sabrina, then Maythel DeAngle, and then Monica is closing the show for us tomorrow night at 11:30 UK time. So we've got a full day tomorrow. We will post up a link to the group in the comments here. Thanks, Emil Shell. So if you click to join the group that you've just seen Shell post up the link there, click to join it. That's where all the demonstrations are coming on tomorrow. As I say, starting at 7 o'clock in the morning. If you miss them, it's not a problem. In the group, if you look for the hashtag Pride 2021, they will all be saved there for you, and you'll be able to go back and look at them. Yes, Rini, you need to drink lots of coffee so you can stay alert. That's the only way of doing it. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit more about those as we go through. What I'm going to start, I'm going to just show you the equipment that I'm using first to make the rose, okay? So I am using flour paste, and I've coloured 7 different colours of flour paste. I'm doing that, it's a little bit, that's a bit better, I think. Sorry, my light's a bit yellow looking. So I've coloured 7 different colours of flour paste here. I've got my rose petal cutters here. I am using the Simply Nature Rose Veiner, which I'll show you a closer look at in a second. I'm also using a teardrop veiner just for the centres, just I want to start using those guys there. Then for the centres of the cone, I use these cotton centres, so it's a little cotton bud cone. Again, I'll give you a look at all this closer in a minute. And I need some tin foil, okay? Or if you don't have tin foil, I mean, you probably do, but if you don't, you can get your mother's antique silver spoons. That's what I use. More often than not I use. She knows I do it. She's good with it. So this is more often than not what I use. Now, if you've questions as we go along, please do ask them. If I miss them in the comments, I'll go back through them at the very end. Feel free to ask questions. And I'll answer them if I do miss them, because there's a 20-second delay on my live feed and Facebook. So sometimes questions flash up and I miss a few of them. Okay. So let me start. So I've got all my equipment. My only other equipment is rolling pin, my green workboard. I have corn flour to hand, but I may and may not need it. Sometimes I don't. It's a little bit humid here at the moment, so sometimes I don't need it. I have a foam pad, but I possibly won't use it. But it's a standard kind of piece of equipment anyway, I guess. My soup spoons, and then I've just got a block of Oasis to the side that I can pop the rose into as I'm kind of working on layers. I don't want to leave it down flat, okay? Now this rose is made, it's still a little tiny bit flexible, literally just because it's been pretty humid here the last week or two. So it is still a small bit flexible, but it will depend on what flour paste that you're using. All right. So, hey, Christina, feel free to share it. Our sister group, please feel free to share it. Okay, so to start, I want to actually start with the outer petals first, and there's a reason for them, so I'll show you that in a second. All right, so let me just pop a couple of these out of the way. So what I do first, as I say, I can either use my mother's antique silver, Okay, or I can use a piece of tin foil. I like the antique silver. I kind of prefer this, using this method. I want my rose veiner. So this is the rose veiner. As I say, it's the one that I have here. It's the Simply Nature rose veiner. Really, really good. I use it for a lot of flowers. Really good quality. What I would do first is I want to make myself a little former. So I'm taking a double layer of tin foil. Okay, just a double layer. You can use a single layer, but to be honest, I use these quite a bit. So if you do a double layer, it's just a bit stronger. And I've just cut out a square, about 3 inches square, okay, and doubled it over. Place that onto your bottom veiner. Place the top veiner on top. Press that down. The other thing that I use is the acrylic squares. So these are just an acrylic square that I do, and I press that. Why do I use them? Because it will give me an even pressure all over the veiner, and you don't get kind of one side vein, one not. But what I'm doing here is tin foil is between, so I press that. Now what I have is I've made myself a former, which will be perfect for drying the petals on, and it's in the shape of the veiner, obviously, so it will hold that proper shape. Alrighty, thank you, Christina. I knew you'd have it done. I knew you'd have your homework done. Okay, so we just make ourselves a couple of formers, or you can use the antique silver soup spoons. And everyone laughs at me with the antique spoons. I don't care really, but the reason I use them is because they've got a really deep bowl in them, and I can get a brilliant curve on my petals, and that's why I use them. Plus, nobody ever comes to visit me, so they may as well get some use. Okay, so I made myself a couple of formers. What I want to do then is I want to start on the outer petals first, because I want them to sort of leather up a little small bit. So I want them to partly dry so I get that nice cupped shape on the outside. So normally what I will do is I'll start and I'll make a couple of them first. So by the time I have the center of the rose done, they've gone a little bit leathery. So for example, I've some made here earlier, and you see it's not set, but it's enough, it's dried enough that it's going to hold its shape. So it's that leathery effect. Shelley Nichols is in the house. Hello. So Shelley is one of our fabulous demonstrators for tomorrow as well. On the tin foil then, and I'll show you how I work both of these, but on the tin foil, same again, I've just made one of each colour here earlier on so they can be just gone that little bit leathery. And when I go to put them on the rose, they'll hold and they won't flop back on us. Okay, so let's start on the outer one. I've taken in the set of rose petal cutters, there's two. So obviously there's one big, one large, small. What you will note on these cutters is there is a little notch, and I think this is just so clever. There's a notch at the bottom. So the notch is your cutting side, so where that notch is. So for example, if you cut with this side, you're going to end up seeing that little ridge, that join in your petal when you cut it. But if where it's notched, you don't have so much of an overlap of the metal, and it's tapered. It's also tapered, so it's much sharper. Okay, so I'm using the smaller end of or size of the cutter. All right. Is it dependent on the paste you use? Is which dependent? How long I leave it to dry, June? Is that what you mean? Yeah. So as I say, here today is very, very humid. I would always probably leave it for, actually these petals I made at about 4 o'clock. So they've sat now for 4 hours and they're still fine. But it'll absolutely depend on how humid your conditions are and how dry, you know, how wet and everything. So you'll need to eyeball it yourself, just that they're that little bit leathery. So I've taken a small little piece of paste. I think that's what you meant, June. If not, just shout another question. Okay, so I've just taken a small little piece of paste, and always I knead it up a little bit just so it kind of tempers the paste and it warms up those gums. Even though I've been using this only a couple of hours ago, what you'll see is there's the paste I took. So you see how it's short, what we call short. So it's not very, it breaks easily. And when I knead it, you see, it becomes now like chewing gum. So that's why you always need it. Same as your fondant, same as your gum paste, any of those guys. All right. Lee, yes, this is my paste. Yeah, it is indeed. Okay, so we're going to take a little bit of paste. I want to be, if I go off camera, guys, shout at me because I don't want to go out of focus, but I kind of know the center of my board. So I'm just pinning this out. I don't normally use any corn flour unless I absolutely have to. I prefer not to, if I can. Now, how fine do you pin it out? I would normally pin this out until I can read newsprint through it. So I would go ultra fine, really fine with it. It will give you the more translucent kind of petals. So I pin that out. What I do then, when I want to cut my petal, I flick it over. So I turn it upside down. Why do I do that? The paste that's underneath will always be a little bit, we'll say fresher, because it hasn't been exposed to the air, even for those few seconds. So where we rolled this side, that will have just not skinned, but it will have dried a little small bit. So this is fresher. So now when I go to cut and I use my cutter down, my acrylic, I get a much cleaner cut. Also what I do is I use the acrylic squares, because quite often it's not to do with any brand of anything, but quite often cutters can be a little bit twisted, maybe if you stored them, you know, upright in a drawer or anything like that. So by using the acrylic, you get that clean cut every time. And the only thing you need to remember is the notch to the bottom. So the little V, okay? So we cut our petal out. Okay, I want to just soften that down then a little bit just at the edge. So I'm taking, so I've got a couple of different rolling pins. I mean, this is just some of them. I may have a problem, but I have a few different rolling pins. So I'm going to take the middle one. This one's roughly about 1 centimetre thickness. And what I want to do is I just want to roll just out. Instead of using my foam pad, you can use the foam pad if you want. I like this technique. So I'm just going out the top. So there's where I cut. So I'm ignoring this part. This is going to be at the bottom, okay? And the top, so it's that little jagged edge. So I'm just rolling that a little small bit. Then I'm taking my veiner. I'm going to lift that. So you can lift it or you can use the small palette knife. I want to place the veiner in. Again, I'm not using corn flour, not unless I need to. So I'm just placing the petal down. It's actually, this is a good colour to see. Then what I do is I want to place the top veiner on top, on my acrylic square, and just press. So I get that even pressure all around, okay? Lift her off and you can take, just lift it off. And again, as I say, unless I need corn flour, I don't use it, because if I use it, I've got to get rid of it. So then, if you want to use the spoon, I'll just pull it back over, place that down in the spoon. What you don't want is you don't want to see these kind of creases there. So you want those smooth there, and let it, so it's out. Let me see if you can see. So you see it's out over the top of the spoon. I'll pull it a little bit more. Out over the top of the spoon, and I just want that to bend back a little bit, so just to curve back a small little bit. I don't want those creases in the petal, so just keep coaxing it. If you've kneaded it up and warmed it, it'll help it as well. It'll mean that it'll be a little bit more flexible. Okay, so it's in the bowl of the spoon, okay, and it's out over the edges. So can you see just a little small bit? Okay, and now I leave that for like even half an hour or an hour or something like that, just to let it go leathery. If it dries fully, you'll still be able to use it, so not to worry if you forget one. That's not a problem. So if you're using spoons, that's the way you do it. No corn flour, nothing in the spoon. You don't need anything there. And let me just show you another one. So I'll pick, let me see, a good colour. I want a good colour that you can see against the board. So let's go yellow. Okay, and these, I've coloured these pastes with just with gel colours, so nothing exciting. If I wanted specific colours, I could colour them up with powder dusts or anything like that as well. That's not a problem, you know, so you can do all that. So let's take a little bit of yellow. Again, knead this up. And just, we'll do one more. I want to show you how to work the tin foil, so you've got that little, just an option of it, all right? And I'm using the bigger, the two cutters. These are only for the outer petals, is how I did this, all right? So as I said, if any of you guys have questions, just shout, and feel free to share this video. It's for sharing. Sharing is caring. Everyone doing all right? I hope you are. It's been a while since I've checked in properly. Okay, so I turn it over. So we have our fresh paste now on top, and let's cut a bigger one here. Okay, and you get into a sort of a, These take a little bit longer to make just because we've got to do individual colours, whereas normally if you're doing a rose you can roll out a slightly bigger piece. I never roll out really big pieces of flower paste at a time, just because I won't roll it fine enough. Good habit as well, make sure you clean off your cutters after each use. And the acid in flour paste or sugar paste can actually affect your cutters and it can cause them to rust. So just get into a habit to wipe them over. So I'm just rolling out, all this is doing really is that it's thinning that edge. So you get this lovely shaped petal. Our veiner then, and we'll just pop that on. Okay, so this is quite a bit bigger, and pop it down so we get those nice little shapes on the bottom. And this one I'm going to use my tinfoil former, the one that I made at the very start. All right, so we just hook that in over. I don't press it down, you'll notice, straight down on it, because if you see here at the back, there's a little, it dips in a little small bit. It's just the natural shape of the petal. These are just fabulous veiners. They're all botanically correct from Jennifer in the US. They're the Sugar Delight, Simply Nature ones. Veiners, and they're just fantastic and amazing quality, I can tell you. I've had this one for 6-7 years, I think, and it's exactly the same as it was day one. So how many colours do I cut with the same cutter? So I make one of each colour, Lee, because I'll need one of each. Okay, so I just press that down to vein it again. All right, and you can see, hopefully you can see the most beautiful veins. Now I use this veiner, it's my most used veiner, so I'll use it for ranunculus, I'll use it for peonies, I'll use it for, sometimes I'll use it for leaves, just for any of that real fine detail. Let me just show you the back. So this is the back of the leaf, okay, and then you have the front. Now, so what I do is the former that we already made on the tinfoil, hey Patricia, the former that we already make on the tinfoil, we place the petal in. Now, why I like the tinfoil formers as well is because I can place that in. It's exactly the same shape as the veiner because we pressed it on it, okay? But also what I can do is, if I decide, right, I want a bit more of a curve, well, I can just catch the petal on the tinfoil and I can just curl that back and I leave it alone now in it to get a little bit leathery, and it will just give you that curl. So I like that, where I'm not. So you see the difference when I brought it out over the spoon to when I used the tinfoil. So it's completely personal, really, what sort of system you like. All right. There's 2s and 4s on both. For smaller petals, the spoon works brilliantly, but I would always use both of them. All right. If I'm doing very small rose petals, so this kind of size, I'll use like more a teaspoon sort of shape. Okay, so we just leave those there. So there are outer petals, and what I've done is I've made one of each colour for the outer petals. Alrighty. Okay, so then for the centre of it, I am using, so these are the cotton cones. I've used these for years and years, and they come already wired. Personally, I prefer them to the polystyrene cones for the simple reason that the petals don't slide down along the cones, and it actually grips straight onto it. So they're a cotton cone. And what I need for these is the cotton cone. I need 2 teardrop cutters. So I'll give you measurements now in 2 seconds. All right. They are. So the small one that I have here is 3¼ centimeters, just about 3½ centimeters long. And the bigger one that I'm using is 4 centimeters long. And the cotton cone is a 2.5 centimeter cotton cone. All right. So they're the sizes that I'm using. I'm not using the bigger one because I'm going to show you how we can work that in a second. Okay. Then I have my edible glue, my rolling pin again, my 2 sizes of rolling pins. Where do I get the cones, Maria? The cones I have on my website. I'm sure they're on the website. If not, I can put up a link anyway for it later on. I've linked my website. Okay, so here again, we need to make one of each shape. Now, what I have actually done is I've already cut out my petals, but I will cut some out. So this here is my Stay Fresh folder. Okay, so it's a double-sided. Again, I've cut these petals out at about 4 o'clock, so I've got a few of each because you don't want to sit here and watch me rolling out petals. Okay, I mean, you might like to, but you probably wouldn't. So I've cut out 2 small, 2 large, and 1 of, okay, let me show you. So 2 of those, 2 of those, 1 of each colour of these guys. Is that all right? So they're the petals that I've just cut out. Okay, for the rose, just because you don't need to sit and watch me for hours cutting out petals. So literally all that I do is I just pin my paste out. So I'll show you one again. Let me just show you a pinky, because the pink shows up really well. There's a green will nearly fade in. Okay, so I'll show you pink that you can see it better. So again, I'm pinning that out. Now what I would often do is, where I'm not using corn flour, it's just me personally, so I'm not using corn flour, but what I do is I roll it over, I go off the paste, pull back, and usually this will work. It won't because you're all watching. Okay, got it. Right, pull back. It's because my board, I think, has dipped a bit in the middle from so much use, and then I can just flick it over. All right, then I can cut out my petals. All right, and she's good to go. So you'll cut out, what I made here for the center was, I did exactly the same as what I have here. So two of each small ones, 2 large, and 1 of the larger ones there. All right. So there's 5 of each petals basically in the colours. Okay. Then, so I'm just gonna, every time I'm not using paste, I'm popping it back into the pot just that it doesn't skin over. So I just have my pot here to hand. That's what you're probably hearing clicking in and out. Okay, so what I start then is I will need, for my center, I need 3 petals. So I'm going to select 3 colours. Okay, so we've got pink, let's go blue, and let's go green. So you select the 3, and from here on, it doesn't matter what 3 that you select. When you close that down, so this Stay Fresh, I have actually left petals in this for 24 hours and they've still been perfect. And what I like, because it's double-sided, we can, are we all okay? Mine skipped out there for a second, but I think we're okay. Because this is a double-sided Stay Fresh, I can carry this around. So if I'm away doing demonstrations, so you won't be away much lately, but if I'm away doing demonstrations, I can be prepped for them. Now what I do is I want to distort these shapes, and also it'll refine my petals a little bit. So this is brilliant if you're doing for competition work, that you can just get them really, really fine, and also all your petals are going to look different. So I'm just rolling out, I'm ignoring the bottom kind of half of the petal, okay? Just to thin that out, it's distorting them, so now they look more ununiform. Is that the right way to say it? So they don't look uniform. I take each petal now and I vein it. So for the smaller petals, I'm putting them up closer to the top just because it's more natural the way the veins will end up. So we vein that over off. So this is our first 3. Next ones. So I don't know if you guys like making roses. They're my all-time favourite flower to make. And I make hundreds and hundreds. So it's a lot of hours, but I love making them. Okay, so we've got a blue, a green and a pink. Doesn't matter, as I say, what colours you choose. If you're doing a plain rose, if you're not doing the Pride rose, then you can, if you're doing it all the one colour, well then it'll just be 3 of the smaller size. Okay, going to just take a small little bit of glue, and I'm going to, and what you don't want to over glue here, because if you do, it just gets into a sticky mess. So I'm just putting a little bit of glue in a V down there at the base. Okay, don't leave your paintbrush in your glue as well, because it just gets completely clogged up with it. Take my first petal. Easiest way to do it is put your cone on the side, lie your petal onto it, and then it's not kind of falling back. Now what I want to do is I want to just attach kind of one side. So can you see the petal is above the point of the cone? All right, so this will help us hide the cone as well. Taking my next petal, turn my cone now a third, lay the petal on. Okay, now what I want to do now is I want to just close that there, so that goes in. Open back out the first side of your pink. Okay, it's actually with different colors, it's easy to explain. And then this one goes on here, but our objective with the first 3 petals is we want to make certain that that cone in the middle can't be seen. So as you look down the top, I would say we can definitely see it. So we can just tighten those up a little bit. This is just going to give you the inner shape. I know we're going to see colors, but it'll give you the inner shape. Okay, so we want to be certain that that cone is tight. Okay, and that's your center. So and keep turning it just to get that center. All right, make sure then that's secured on. And like I say, don't overglue. If you overglue, it just gets into a sticky mess. So it does. Hey, Carol. All right. So make sure that that's tight. Then we take our next 3 petals. I'm going to choose different colors now. So this time I am going orange, purple. I've got 6 colors and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 colors. So I didn't use, I'm not losing it. I have 6, haven't I? I could be losing it, but I don't think I am. And let's go green. Yeah, green was the one I don't have. All right. So I want the next 3 colors. We're going to do the very same then again. All right. And we're going to just soften out those edges. So just soften them. Don't take out a whole lot of petals at one time. Just take out enough to do the row you're working on. Because if you do and they start to skin over, you won't be able to vein them and you won't be able to kind of do this without getting cracked edges on it. So just take out enough for your row. So I have another 3. All right. We're going to vein these. Everyone okay there? If you have any questions, shout. And if I missed them, the girls are here as well from the Global Cake Artists Unite, so we can field any questions. And as I said at the beginning, Shell's popped up a link there for the Global Cake Artists Unite group. So tomorrow, starting at 7 o'clock in the morning, so all on the group there, you'll have seen the picture with all the different demonstrations, and our UK time, our CET time, our PK time, they're all up on the different groups so that you can see in the ESTs. So all the different time zones are on it. And if you do miss them, you go to the group, you put in Pride 2021 and they will come up, they'll be saved. They're not just there for tomorrow. So they'll be saved for you. Okay, so now I've got 3 different colours. So now because I already have green on this layer, I want to start on the opposite side. So you don't want colours lining up, if that makes sense. So we're just going to lay that down. Okay, and then add in my next 2. So be certain to find the group, look to join, and then the demos are running until past midnight tomorrow night. If you've got a pot of coffee, there's a marathon on and you are more than welcome. Okay, so these 3 petals now I've joined on. Now, these ones I want to start to open. So I'm going to just, with my finger, just turn back that top. Okay, thanks, Shell. So the group is there. So if you click the group, look to join, be sure you answer the questions when you look to join the group. And well, we'll probably let you in because we're nice like that. It's a great group. Okay, so now I've just curled back so you can see now, and this will work just for a bud if you want. Don't worry that the bottom looks a mess. By the time we've all the other petals on, you won't see the cone. That'll be hidden. Okay, so that's our next stage. So we've 2 rows on, a row 3 and a row 3. Okay, our next row is a row of 5. Okay, so again, we want to just choose our 5 petals, and these are the smaller petal again. Okay, so the smaller petal again. So 3, 4, and an orange. Okay, so I've just got my 5 colors and we do it. So this row is pretty much the same as the last one, but it is 5 petals, okay, and the rows change now after this. So If anyone's making this along with me, just don't gallop ahead. There's a change in the pattern that we're going to do on the next one. So we're just again thinning out those. If you don't want to do this, hey Sita, if you don't want to do the thinning out like what I'm doing, but actually I use my foam pad less and less now. For roses, I've started to use this technique here. I prefer the finish that it gives me. Okay, so we vein these guys. All right, pop them off. And always when I pop them off, I'm putting the inside petal facing up, the front of the petal facing up. Okay, so I kind of get into that habit of just then they're lined up for me, they're ready to go. I'm a little bit surgical, I think, probably, when I make flowers, because I like to get into a conveyor belt system. And it's quicker to do it that way as well. All right, so... Anybody any questions, or does anybody kind of make roses and hate making them, or, you know, run into problems with them? I would say the first problem people run into is they don't dry or they're too heavy. And if that's the case, generally the answer is, did you use flour paste or did you use fondant with gum trag in it? The fondant tends to be too heavy and it'll never dry because it's got glycerine in it, so it'll never dry properly. So a little bit of glue down there. We're taking back our center again, all right, and we want 5. Now, so always what I want to do is I want to look and see where are my colours. So there's the purple one. So I'll start with a purple, on the opposite side, because I don't want them to line up, remember? And my petals are level. So it's another mistake a lot of people do, is that as they add a row, the rows of petals sneak up a bit higher, and suddenly you have this big dip in the middle of your rows. Roses are generally level across the front, okay? Or level across the top as you look at it. So you shouldn't have a dip, okay? Take our next one, and this time I need to add on 5. So this petal is roughly halfway in on the petal below it, all right? So again, always just because we're doing the mixture colours, you want to just watch that you're not putting a yellow one behind a yellow or a blue behind a blue, you know, just kind of line them up. So we're lining our 5 petals. Okay. And already, I mean, it's a really good impact flower, and I've done exactly that. So I need to change the blue for an orange because I don't want oranges to line up. All right. And that lad. All right, close that over once you get back to the start. And again, so I'll tidy those there at the bottom. I want this now to open. So how do I open it? Just with my thumb. That's all I'm doing. All right, so I'm folding back the top a little small bit, and you see, if you think this, it's like a thumb nut, that will close and open. Can you see? Close and open. And that's all I'm doing. So I'm just opening the petals. Okay, pop that back just so as it gets nice and open. Now we want to see our rows start to open. So this now is 3 rows of petals, a row 3, a row 3, and a row 5. And they're all the smallest cutters. So they're all my little cutter that I've used. Okay, so that is the center. That will work then as your rosebud if that's what you want it to be, or it'll work as kind of the start of the filler, and you just want to tidy up the base. Alrighty. Now, what I've done is I have made a bud just to make it easier to handle. Normally what I would do, because we've put on quite a few petals there, you have a lot of kind of wet paste and glue and everything. So normally what I do is I'd bring it to this stage, I'd leave it alone for even an hour or 2 or overnight and let it dry. So that's what I've done here. It's exactly the same, but I've literally just left it overnight. So I'm at the same stage, but just this one's a little bit drier. Okay, just to make, it makes it easier, because sometimes, especially if you're not rolling the paste too thin, it becomes very kind of heavy. So that's why I use it. So now I'm going for another 5 petals, and from here on my sets are, it's 5 petals per set, and I'm moving now to the bigger cutter. So this is the one that I'm on here. So I need to select my 5. Okay, and an orange. Okay, so 5 petals there, and we do the same. Now my pattern is going to change, okay, when I'm adding them on. So we thin those out each time, and if you see on it, what I'm doing is, I hope you can see, you can. So I'm going left side, top, right side, and go out a little bit wider if you want. Okay, so I'm going 1, 2, 3 to roll them out. All right, that's the way I'm doing them there. Then I pop this in, give them a vein, so you can see obviously these are going to be just nice and big for us. Give those a vein. And again, each one, and each one do vein it. It's worth taking the couple of seconds that it takes to vein it. And like say, if you're finding that your petals, so there's one now is I've missed one side, use your acrylic and it'll just give you that even vein all around it. So it gives you a much better finish. Sometimes I just forget to grab it. Okay, and the acrylic there, and the last one. All right, so they're Celine up in Donegal. So hope all's doing well. Glue, I've barely dipped this in the glue actually. Really, it's barely wet. If you put too much glue on them, they just slide off it. They get into a mess and it's just difficult to work with. So, and I'm only gluing that V, so just that outside V. I don't want to glue the center because now I want to really start to open up the rose. So I'm just gluing that V down the center. So now what I'm going to is I'm taking my bud, and I remember this is already dried a little small bit. All right, so I'm taking my first petal. So let's look at our colors and let's go blue here. So my first petal now, do you remember when I was doing these overlaps, I joined one side, kept turning, joined the other side. Now what I do is I want to join both sides. So where we've glued is here. So I want to just pinch that and let it angle back. So you see, pinch, it's just a little pinch. Turn my thing, because you don't want the roses, the petals too rigid, unless that's the style, the likes of different style roses. Vandellas are quite open and curled back a little bit. Avalanches are more straight. So look at the rose that you're making. My next petal then is going to go here. So you might kind of say, well, they're not overlapping. That's correct. So they don't need to overlap. So we're just hinging that back a little bit more. Hinge that back and give it a little turn. Turn around here now. I want to go purple rose, purple petal. It's just an extra little thing you need to watch because we don't want colours to line up. So I'm adding that on. Then I'm just doing that. That's all I'm doing with my hands, just to get that open. And as you look down into it, you'll have a better view of me. Now, when I'm doing flowers for competition work in particular, what I actually do is I'll go so far and I'll get the camera on my phone and I look at it through the camera of the phone. Try it the next time you're doing it. It makes a huge difference and you can really see if there's flaws. So I can see here's where I need one petal, here's where I need the other petal. But if you're not sure, it's your first time making it, get your camera out of the phone and look through it. I know that the judges, quite a few of them, will actually judge cakes with like a torch. You'll see flaws then if you use a torch, or through a camera. Sometimes just to double check when I'm judging, I use that a lot. So you see we're popping that lad on, so it's stuck on both sides, but by just doing that I can open and close it. The opposite side then, so this lad is going here. Is that okay? Everyone following, I hope. So this is the bigger of the teardrop petal and it's 5. So you see, and the main thing is you want your petals to be staggered around. Okay? And opened. Same again, what I would normally do is I'd do that row, I'd leave it alone and I'd let it dry a little small bit, just that it's easier to handle, you know, till you get used to them. If it's a thing like, see here, this is opened a little bit, you can still move that back out just with the back of the brush, or, you know, your little small rolling pin or whatever, you can move it a little bit, give them a curl over. You don't want to curl the same side of every petal. You want it to change. That's in nature. They won't all be identical. They won't be the same shape. They won't be the same size. So you can see. All right. Let's just important to see all the sizes. Again, don't worry that you can see the cone there at the base. That's all right. Okay. So what we moved then is we moved to the same height. Yes, same height, Patricia. So your roses, if you take a look here, because these petals are curled back a little bit, they look lower, but actually when that rose is closed, the petals are all at the one height. So always at the one height. It's the biggest mistake people do, is that the petals will either go up or they'll put them lower, the next row lower down, and suddenly it looks like a big cone shape in the center of it. So it is important to, and I think it's what gives them character of it. Okay. So then we're going to move on to our bigger petals. Just let me check my colours. So because I've 6 colours, I'm kind of skipping 1 colour at each row. So I'm just using 5 colours on each row, if you get me. So I'll always be skipping 1 colour. So again, these are just in the Stay Fresh mat. You can see that it does hold them down. It's heavy enough that it holds them, but they're absolutely as fresh as when I rolled them out initially. So what I do then is when I'm doing a few, give them a bit of space on the board, and I just want to smooth down those edges again. All right, thanks Monica. Okay, so just smooth down those edges. So for anyone that's just joined us, as I say, be sure to join the group tomorrow starting at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'll give them another shout out at the end anyway, but we've got amazing artists on for the whole day tomorrow, from 7 in the morning until past midnight. Monica, who's just commented, Monica is closing the show tomorrow night with the last demo, so it will be amazing. It's going to be a fabulous day, and it's all over on Global Cake Artists Unite, so be certain that you join the group. All right, so just vein each one again. Alrighty. And it does, veining them, I mean, if you look, so here is the one I've veined. So you can see the difference that it makes. Hopefully you can anyway. You can see the difference that it makes. It just brings it to life a little small bit. So these ones here are our second last row. So now you really start to open the rows very quickly. So you do. The first 3 rows, it is important that they're tight. It gives the rows that really nice center on it. The first 2 rows definitely, but the first 3 rows generally, I would leave good and tight, and then all of a sudden it opens. If you look at your roses, look in your garden centre, look in wherever they're grown. At the moment here, there are roses everywhere over here. It's right in the thick of the season. So my mother-in-law has fabulous old style roses, so I'm quite often down grabbing. So the link that Shell has just put up, this is the group where all the demonstrations are going to be on tomorrow for Pride, to celebrate Pride. We're celebrating Pride with Pride. Fabulous, it's going to be a fabulous day. Okay, so there are 5. I'm coming back now, and I just want to pop on a little bit of glue. So this time, and as I say, just my routine, I always have the bottom of the petal facing me. I'm just coming round in that semicircle, just with a little bit of glue. Don't over glue. You can always add in a little bit more, but you cannot take it off, and it just, if it's happened to you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It just gets into a mess. Okay, so we need to start. So let's go pink first. All right. And this guy, same again, it's just easier to attach them with the rose line on its side. So now the pattern formation is the same, and this cutter that I've used is this one out of the set of cutters that I showed you earlier. So it's the same, and I'm just pulling over those corners, those edges a little bit. You see now how it starts to open. It's secure in that it's sitting, but I can also open close, so I can that's all I'm doing. So I'm just hinging my hand up and around. I'm going to go, let me see what color. I'm going to go blue. Okay, and these will almost touch here, but they're not kind of overlapping as much as the other guys did. So now we're closing her down and curl that over. Okay, and we need a yellow, I think, here. And this is, so that's 3 of this larger one. Okay, is anybody confused or any questions, I'll go back through the rows in a second anyway, if you have any questions. So what you can see, and you'll always use odd number petals on a row. If you use even number, your rows will end up square. So always odd petals. So we have 3 in this. Then what we need to do is come now with, let's go green here, because you're always watching now that I'm not going to line up colours. I want them to be totally different. And our last one will go here, and that's our orange. Okay, so I've only done 5 rows. This is 5 rows of petals. Okay, and that will go there. Just make sure that that's going to be stuck. All right, so again, you can stop there if you want, or we can add in our last couple, and I would say let's go pink. So now I'm moving on to the petals that I left on the formers earlier on. Okay, so I've got a yellow, I've got a green. We'll make this a nice big guy. Again, because I'm trying to add all these on and show you the completed rows, normally what I would do is I do it so far and I'd leave it to get a little bit leathery just to kind of help you along, because if you're trying to do it all in one go, it can suddenly start to kind of flop over on you. If you do find that, you know, like there's a petal that's trying to creep down on me, right? What I'll do is I'll put a hook in the wire, I'll hang it upside down, leave it for half an hour, and then come back to it and I'll still be able to readjust it. Okay, but it's okay. All right. So I need a couple of these guys. These are gone leathery, so you see they'll just hold their shape. So that's the soup spoon version. Here we've got, I think this may have been the one that I just did earlier, but you can see it's still holding, it's holding enough of a cup in that we can use it. And then these, and I have a box full of these. Some are rose petals, some are lilies, all sorts of formers that I just make them, you know, they're nice and easy to make. So let me go with pink. Okay, here, so you want to spot now, where do I want one? And because we have these leathery, you see I've nothing to do with it, only just attach it, that's it. I'm very sorry, I do realise my hands move very fast, and it's possibly not good for you. I'm so sorry, I do have very fast moving hands. So we just have to attach that guy there. Let's go with a blue. So I'm spotting now where I want to bring in a little bit more colour. Okay, this guy in here. That goes there, a little bit of glue. So I think, let's pop him here. So you see, it'll just hinge right into it. And because it's already cupped, because it's partly dried on us, it'll already cup in. Now we can still open these back, of course, if we want to. So you see what we're getting. These are amazing for just a fantasy flower, aren't they? And I'm going to get a pink. So I'm literally just, no, I'm not. That's a complete lie. I'm going to go purple because I don't have so much purple in. So I just want to bring in a purple over here to balance. All right. Excellent, Linda. That's brilliant. And if you've any questions, guys, shout out. This is a whole learning thing as well for everybody. So do shout if I've confused you. I'll run through so purple is going to go here. Yeah, so I'm just spotting, you can see exactly, you know, that you're just kind of spotting where it's going to go to balance your rows. So you want it balanced. I do need one more over here because I've got an extra row around this side. So I do need another one here, and it's going to be pink, I think, this time. Okay, so a little bit of glue again, and you can see it's barely dampened with glue. So don't put on too much. Also, what I don't want to do is I don't want to put one petal. Let me just show you. I don't want one petal directly behind another. I want it offset. It'll look more natural that way. So you see, just offset. If it's only just a quarter ways over from the one before it, that's fine. But just don't start to stack your petals one behind the other. All right. So that is that there. I will leave that. These are leathery, so they're kind of good to go. I think maybe I won't go any bigger. But see, I love a big old flouncy flower. Do you? Love a bit of flounce. But what we could do, we could pop one more in there. I think he'll work it. Yeah, nothing like it. Big blousy number. Okay, so just pop in a peachy color. Now you can use obviously any color. You can do two-tone petals. There's so much you can do with it. Yeah, so he is going in here, right in there, and that's there. Okay, so you can see now my cone is pretty much covered at the back. We're just going to make a little calyx for the back of it. Actually, I'm going to just do a simple calyx because you may not have the cutters. I'm always aware that sometimes, you know, you might not have as much access to cutters or materials. Depending where you are in the world, you may not have it. So I'll just show you how to make a very quick one. What color do I have left? Okay, we're going to have to go without. Yep. All right. So to make the calyx, what I'll do is just let me pop this into Oasis just because it is. Now, what you might see is that it's a little bit, it feels a bit heavy, but by the time that dries off, so it will be so much lighter. If I can find my little scales, I've had so many demos on, but actually I would say it loses about 40% maybe moisture when it dries. There's a massive difference in the weight. Trust me, I'm Irish, lads. It changes. It dries out. Okay, so make a little calyx. I'm going to take my green and I'm just going to make a very, very simple little calyx for the back of this. Thank you, guys. Thank you. That's great that you've learned a lot. Brilliant stuff. What you do want to do is obviously, depending if you're putting these on cakes, you want to be sure that it's not going to be too big on it, you know, and that it's going to fit. So I'm taking my green because the calyx is green. So I'm taking my green. I'm going to roll 5 little balls into a teardrop. Okay. So very, very simple calyx. If you don't have the cutter, this will work. If you were doing it for competition work, this isn't botanically correct, but this is how I wouldn't use a cutter as much for a calyx for competition work. I'd freehand it. Okay. Again, I apologize because I realize my hands move very fast. So, okay. So we make 5 little teardrops. We are going to can use our acrylic again, just to press them down. Okay. Acrylic is great because it'll work as a paint palette. It'll work for your veiners, for your cutters. It'll press these down if you want to just make fantasy kind of leaves. It will work for that. I'm going to just pop them then onto my foam pad. Okay. And just to get these nice and fine. And I'm going to take then my ball tool and I'm just going to, so just a small bit of corn flour, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just giving those a little bit of a dip, but you notice I'm only rubbing there in the center, in the rounded end of it, just to get that little bit of a more calyx kind of looking. Okay. And then what we can do is we can just take like our wheel or our Dresden, and we're just going to, on the backs, give them a little bit of a mark. This is fantasy. This is not how they are in real life botanically. They're very different, but we just want to create a little bit of texture. Okay, so that goes on there. We'll flip them back then. The cupped side goes in. All right, so if you have flattened them at all, you can still come back and you can still just cup that a little bit. Okay. And then what we want to do is take back our rose, turn it upside down. Now what I want is a little bit of glue just here on the base of each petal. So this now will complete hiding our polystyrene. Okay. And if you're making these for customers, be certain that you tell them that there's wires in them. I mean, technically sugar flowers are not really edible just because they contain the wires in the polystyrene. So technically they're not edible. So now I want to just place the 5 of these around. It's okay if they overlap, that's all right. But I do want 5, I don't want 4. Okay, so they come around in like a little, I guess a star shaped kind of. And they go around like this here. And then you can use your Dresden. I'm just this would normally be dry. The center of this one is dry, so that's why I can handle it. So just to make sure that they're pressed down a little bit, and that will give you a calyx. Okay, at the back of it. It'll give you that there. You can then, if you want, I mean, these don't have to be green. If this is carnival, these can be any colour. They can be all different colours. And if you make this flower, or if you make anything from our demonstrations tomorrow, be certain that you post it up in the group or on our pages and tag us. We love to see them. And also we run our monthly, you know, cover photo competition in the group, that if, you know, this month's one is a Pride photo. So we ask everyone to submit photos of work that you've made. And it would be lovely to have lots of these pieces from our demonstrations up on it. Okay, so I've just curled those back a little small bit and you can see it. So then this is more or less complete. Okay, fab. Thank you guys. So before I just finish up, I'm just going to go back and tell you again, and Shell might just pop up the link to the group. So starting tomorrow for our Pride Day of demonstrations, the group you need to be in is the Cake Artists, Global Cake Artists United. Sorry, Shell. Starting at 7 o'clock in the morning, but they will be there all day long. And they'll be left there. The demonstrations and all be there. We've got Tangia Rashid. I'm going to try and pronounce everyone's name properly. Tangia Rashid, 7 o'clock UK time. Then we've got Margarita Guerrero, 8:30, Shelley Nichols at 10 o'clock. We've got Ben Fullard at 11:30, Mark Kevin Rees at 1 o'clock, Rodoslava Kirilova at 2:30, Alan Dunn at 4 o'clock tomorrow evening. Then we've got Gina Retmer Shapowell, 5:30. Tammy Valera is on at 7 o'clock tomorrow evening at UK time. We've got Sabrina Mattia at 8:30 UK time, Metha de Angle at 10 o'clock, and Monica Lillian Batala at 11:30 tomorrow night. I apologise for the Irish pronunciations. But it's a full day demonstrations, and all our artists are so kind to have created pieces and everything for our demonstrations, and we're all given our time. It's just such a lovely thing to do and to come together. So make sure you join that. Guys, this is me. I'll just pop back up the camera and I can show you maybe in better light the finished picture, because I do know it's a little bit yellow there, so you can just have a look and see. See, I told you I was surgical when I do flowers. You're so welcome. Monica, I'm so sorry. I probably mispronounced everyone's name because, you know, forgive me, I'm Irish. So let me just show you these two flowers. Then, what you can see a little bit better. So this is the one I've just made. Let me be certain. I'm sorry, it's dusk here at the moment, so I couldn't leave the curtains open. So these are the two. So this bottom one here is the one I had originally made, and this is tonight's. It's got one row of petals more actually than the last one, and hopefully you should be able to see, yeah, the backs and the calyx and everything. The colours are much, much brighter. It's I'm working on light here that's not so good at the moment. So guys, that is me. Thank you so much. These are just some pieces that were kind of in the last little while. This piece here is my latest baby. This one got me a lovely gold medal, and the shoe gold medal 2 weeks ago. Very proud. So guys, thank you so much. Be certain to tag us and to share the video and everything. Feel free to do that in your groups. Lovely to see you all again. Hope you're all doing well and you're all keeping well. I shall see you over on the group page tomorrow. I'll be over to see all the demonstrations there. So we'll be dipping in and out every day. Thank you so much. Thanks to everybody. And thank you so much to all of our artists, as I say, who've given the time and who are doing all these demonstrations for you. It's really wonderful to be part of such a brilliant group. So see you all soon, guys. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye. Bye-bye.